Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Atlanta Sea Colony live stream. My name is Adam Jewell, and with me, as always, is my handsome friend Brendan. Brendan, how you doing?
I'm fine.
And we have a surprise guest because of my amazing planning abilities and my impromptu invitations. We have Carly Jackson from the Seasteading Institute. Carly, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. How are you all doing?
We're doing all right. I'm going to speak for Brendan and just say we're doing okay. So, like I said, it was kind of a last minute deal that I, shot you an invite earlier today. But we figured it's been a while since we kind of got to hear about what Seasteading Institute's up to. And also, we mentioned last week on the live stream that Brendan will be doing a speaking engagement with your guys' is it live stream podcast? What is it?
No, it's a Zoom event.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's free and online. We do record it and then put it on our YouTube channel. But we've been hosting monthly events. We call them Seasteading Socials to just, build a community of people who want to learn about how to live on the ocean. They've been going pretty well. Yeah,
and we talked right before we launched it that we had you on our podcast back in 2019. So it's been a minute since we got to chat with you. But also, I guess, in the silver lining in that is that now we can talk about everything that's happened since then. So, I guess it's a broad question, but what's been new with, I guess, the Seasteading Institute since 2020, I'd say, meaning it was probably towards the end of 2019 that we talked.
Sure. So earlier this year, we partnered with Ocean Builders. So Ocean Builders is a company building sea pods in Panama. So they have a very futuristic looking design for a 2-bedroom home that sits on a spar. And their more recent design has 3 arms that come out and on one of those arms can be like an outdoor patio area, or what I would like to see is like a garden area. So they are building those in the Linton Bay in Panama, and they have launched an incubator. So the incubator has a list of very intense projects related to every aspect of on the ocean living, like generating energy, purifying water, Internet of Things management of your kitchen or shower. So they have a wide range of projects listed, and they've expanded to be able to allow people to work remotely. But they do have an incubator space in Panama where people can go and stay and work on the projects. So we are partnering with them. Many of their projects are going to be open source, and we are offering a scholarship to people who want to go and work on an open source project. So we successfully raised $55,000 this summer, so we can start sending people to Panama. Or if they can only work remotely, we can provide a stipend so that it doesn't have to be just those hours in the middle of the night where you don't have family or work obligations. We provide a stipend so you can maybe take some time off and focus on the open source projects. So, I hope to see that program expand beyond Ocean Builders. They have an online platform to help people collaborate wherever they are in the world, and we'd love to see that expand.
Very cool.
Yeah, I know. I've been following Chad and Nadia since Singapore or wherever it was.
Thailand,
Thailand, that was where it's over there somewhere. So it's been fascinating to see that progression from that to where they're at now, and the website itself has just grown. I mean, it's a beautiful website. I just love the aesthetics of their website now too. So for the Seasteading Institute, I see, I understand, with us, we've seen a bunch of designs and ideas come along for a long time, decades, and nothing ever comes of it. But then you've got something like the Ocean Builders who've actually come around, and they've actually doing something. How important or how big is that for the Seasteading Institute?
Well, it's great. It's, we could see just with our fundraiser, giving followers a tangible, substantial goal is very inspiring, and that's why we were able to raise $55,000. So, and I'm excited to follow up with anyone who participates and have them, send video of the projects that they're working on and talk about it and have real things floating in the water. Like it's been 13 years since the Seasteading Institute has been founded, and so it's been a long time coming for many of our supporters.
Yeah. So with the whole incubator program, we probably need to get like the Chad or somebody back on with somebody for the Ocean Builders at some point in time. But the whole I found the incubator aspect of the whole thing fascinating when you guys had that on a month or so ago, or whatever it was. So anybody, can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's a huge part of that, as far as how does somebody get into the incubator program? And I'm not sure how much you know about it as far as we will talk about it or not, but talk a little bit about that maybe.
Sure. So I'll share what I know. I don't know everything because I'm not there, but I guess it was 2 years ago, someone reached out to the Seasteading Institute, who does a makerspace, and was explaining his whole project. And I was like, this would be amazing for seasteading, because one of the big barriers is that we have one person in British Columbia, Canada, and another person in Singapore, and another person in Brazil. And it's like, they all have great ideas, but how do we get their resources together to actually build something together? And so we tried to work with that person on creating a seasteading project within their platform, but they ran into a few things that they didn't end up completing that. But Grant, who is the CEO of Ocean Builders, saw the value in that idea, and he went ahead and built it for Ocean Builders independently. So it's great. Grant, he's taken the project and run with it, right? Like he has business experience, which I don't think Chad or Nadia or Rudy, who is the engineer, I don't think that they had a lot of experience just starting a business from scratch and launching it. And so when we could connect Grant with them, Grant just like knew how to turn their design and ambitions into a business. And that's what you see with him, with the incubator, being able to just bring people together with the right talents and organize the projects, because even if you have people with the right talents, you need someone to keep them focused and accountable. And so Grant was able to pull that together. Oh, and as far as you apply, oceanbuilders.com/incubator, there's a contact form. I know that they're very open if there isn't a project currently listed, but you have something else in mind. They're open to creating new projects, but they do have, a time frame in which they want to put sea pods on the water. So they may prioritize their own, projects to facilitate that. But I do know that they're open to creating many different kinds of seasteading technology and just making it available.
Yeah. I don't want to focus too much on the Ocean Builders, because there's a whole lot more going on with the seasteading besides just them. I guess my question when I first heard you were going to be on is how, and kind of changing gears here a little bit, but how did the Seasteading Institute and all of its partners and stuff like that, how did it fare through the last year with the pandemic and stuff like that? What do you guys see from that?
I really didn't see much of a shift. I mean, we were already a fully online organization. And so, we launched the monthly Seasteading Social, which would have been a great idea before. It just was a matter of getting ducks in a row to be able to do that. I think maybe we were helped in that Zoom meetings became very normalized, and so that the idea of logging in to an online meeting became a lot less intimidating for people who may not have been used to it. So that helped us, I think, with our online events. But I haven't seen, it's hard to say because we were working so hard to build out community, I've been working on the back end to create systems and software to keep track of people and keep connected with people. And so it's hard to say if the pandemic had any effect, or if it was a result of what I had already been working on, to try and just broaden our reach and keep sustained, community with as we've always been a very dispersed group, right? Like, people are all over the world. And so how do we get folks talking to each other and working together? That's been our challenge.
And I know for me, your Discord community is huge. And I recently joined that. I mean, instantly, I've been having multiple conversations in there alone. I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, there's a lot of people in there. There's a lot of knowledge in there too.
Discord. So someone created the Discord, and I still don't know his real identity. And it had just sort of been there with maybe like 20 or 30 people. And we have a new part-time virtual assistant, Alexander, who's been fantastic. So he was, as soon as he was hired, I was like, figure out if we can get admin privileges on this Discord, because, I'm always a little bit nervous about inviting people to join a community if we're not moderating it, but we got invited as moderators, and then we launched our role-playing game. And that's when people started visiting and joining the Discord. And then all of these other conversations started.
Okay.
So that was pretty awesome. So I can talk a little bit about our role-playing game.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So so Joe Quirk, our president, had been he's spoken to many conferences. In 2019, he and I traveled so much. We went to a lot of conferences, sometimes together, sometimes separately. And we had played this game at conferences. When we had a group of people, we'd say, okay, now we're going to play a Seastead game, break up into groups, write some general rules for your Seastead, write how are you going to provide food, how are you going to generate energy, what's your governance structure, and then we'll throw out scenarios, like challenges. And I got to do this at Anarchapulco in 2018, where we had a breakout room, and I had little slips of paper. And actually, one of them was a very contagious virus start spreading on your seastead. What do you do about it? We had ones like pirates come and steal your energy generator, or it's various challenges that we expect to see on real seasteads. And people have loved playing that game. I remember Joe told me at one conference they had a pot stead where, where marijuana, they would just grow marijuana and sell marijuana, and that was gonna be their main revenue. And
it's gonna happen too.
Right. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I like the idea. I'd like to see a scenario or a simulation of like an all women seastead. Like, how would that work? So we decided to put this game online on Discord, and luckily Alexander has some experience with text-based role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, and so he was able to take the role of game master. And we did our first scenario in June. So we had he created some character profiles. I created 3 Seastead types to start out. Like, eventually in the game we'll have people create their own Seasteads, but we thought just to get started we should have some more structure. So there's one that's on a cruise ship, and they're called the Constitutional Cruise, and I wanted to base their constitution on the Freedom Haven Project, which Anthony Charles Olson has been on my podcast and has been involved. He on Facebook, he has sort of crowdsourced a constitution. And so I thought that was really interesting. Like, let's take that constitution and bring in the role-playing game and see if people can play with it and work with it. And so that was our first Seastead in the game. And then the second one is the Crypto Anarcho Citadel, which is based on one of the Seasteads that was created during our conference, because they were all crypto enthusiasts, and they're like, every decision will be made on the blockchain, and all resources and will be tracked on the blockchain. Like, you will pay, instead of insurance, you will pay into a fund. And so if you accidentally damage someone else's seastead, then you will that out of that fund of crypto, you will pay damages. So they had everything managed through the blockchain and through cryptocurrency. So that was the second one. And then the third one, I wanted to model after the Venus Project, which I happened to visit in Florida right before everything was shutting down. And they call it a resource-based economy. So it's a very intensive planned economy, very purely socialist, if I'm understanding correctly. I might be misrepresenting the Venus Project, so I do apologize. But the Citadel, I wanted it to be based more on the co-ops and the third seastead is the co-op, and I wanted it to be based on the more hippie, sharing resources type community that I've run into a lot of people, a lot of anarchists or agorists who come at self-governance from that other political history. So we created the third seastead as the co-op, which I thought would be more socialist, but I don't think socialism is used in that way. It's more of a pure socialist or old-fashioned form of socialism. And then people could choose which seastead they wanted to join, and we had a scenario of a hurricane hitting their seastead, and we saw how they responded, and it was fascinating, and I want to see it grow and see how realistic we can play out the potential challenges that seasteaders will face when we're actually out floating in the water.
So it sounds like a place you can spend a lot of time then.
Yeah, it's been really fun to sort of try and think up, and I love organizing the game. I got some spreadsheets to get to design, for keeping track of things.
Yeah, I haven't
do something like that, Brendan.
No, I don't want to put that kind of time into it. Yeah, I've seen it there. I haven't even clicked on it yet. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. One of these days. But yeah, no, I threw the links in our thing. I'll throw links out there on our social as well for anybody that wants to join that Discord, because there's a lot going on. And yeah, the owner of the thing, him and me have been talking quite a bit about what he's planning on doing, stuff along those lines. So yeah, there's anybody's involved in any aspect of ocean, that's the place to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else we got? So what is, I guess we never did it. I assumed most of our listeners and stuff like that listen now or later know what the Seasteading Institute is. But if you want to give a elevator speech or whatever to familiarize those who don't know, what is the Seasteading Institute and what are you guys doing?
Sure. So we are a nonprofit working to educate the world about the concept of seasteading, which is living on the ocean. So it comes from the word homesteading, which is also another, that's a hard word to translate, but I figure most of your listeners are American and understand the concept of homesteading. So as a nonprofit, we're not actively building seasteads ourselves, but that's why we're trying to support companies like Atlantis Sea Colony and Ocean Builders, however we can, to educate the public about what y'all are doing. And then, of course, the Incubator Scholarship, I'm really excited about that. I think that has potential to grow, to support people who, open source is really important because we do want to make sure that anything we create is available to anyone who's interested, right? So nothing proprietary, but yeah, educating people about the concept. My boss, Joe Quirk, has written the book called Seasteading. It's 3 or 4 years old now, but he goes through and talks to people who can develop farming, seaweed, fish farms that are more environmentally restorative instead of the existing fish farms, or commercial fishing now, as it is now, is not restorative to the environment. How to generate energy through solar or ocean thermal energy conversion. And then sort of the governance aspect, which is one that we talk about the most, the idea that if people are living out on the ocean and their community has a governance structure that isn't working for them, they can separate and find another community, and your cost of moving is greatly decreased when you can bring your whole house with you, your whole farm with you. And so that will create a market in governance that will require governments to compete for citizens rather than just imposing any laws that might benefit a few, but at the expense of the many.
So, as you said, it's been around for 13 years. Obviously, it's a labor of love and a lot of patience that goes into this thing. We've seen that as well. But, with Ocean Builders and other organizations like that, and with your finger on the pulse of what's going on out there, how close do you think we are to actually having the first seastead in any fashion out there?
Are you asking out there as far as like high seas outside of territorial water, just out there?
Yep.
I think Ocean Builders will have a sea pod in the within 6 months. I mean, if the pandemic did affect them, like if we hadn't had all the shutdowns, then they would already have a sea pod out there. I'm pretty confident. So, yeah. So, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything takes longer to build than what you plan. But yes, I would say in the next 6 months to see a sea pod actually floating out in Panama.
Very cool.
Yeah.
They're utilizing large 3D printers, aren't they? With their how they build, isn't?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Chad shared a video of one of their printers. The thing's amazing, just because I just think 3D printers in general are pretty cool, and seeing those large scale ones that people are using to build structures is just awesome to see. So yeah, it's a really cool, I guess, manufacturing concept too.
Sure. No, they have the largest 3D printer in Latin America. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wanting to head down there, and then of course the pandemic hit, and so that threw everything into couldn't get down there for anything. So it's that's on the back burner now, I guess. But here we got a question from one of our viewers here. Wants to know, what is the biggest hurdle to overcome to begin actual locating a habitat on location anywhere?
The biggest hurdle, well, it's either your neighboring country making sure that you have the political goodwill and permission that they're not going to send out a Navy to come and stop you and take your seastead away. That's what happened in Thailand. Or the waves, right? So there's a band across the equator where in many places you can have very low waves. So that is probably the first step to building a seastead, is you want one that can handle the lower waves. And then as you develop the technology and iterate, you can get out where there may be higher waves. So I'm going to go with two things. Those are my two big hurdles.
What if kind of going off of that, and it's one of the things that I've been trying to do some research on is, and obviously the Ocean Builders are working out of Panama right now, but the legalities of a lot of things, she's cutting out for a second. We're going to give her a second. She did mention before the live stream that she has a thunderstorm rolling in, so she might cut in and out. So we'll give her a second.
Yeah, while we're waiting on that, hey, Glenn, thanks for joining us tonight. I was wondering where you're at, because usually you pop in there at some point in time. So
Glenn's just chilling. Glenn's watching the live stream, just hanging out with us.
Yeah, so I'm sure you'll get a message from Carly as soon as she can and see if she's coming back or not. And if the storm hit and took out her power or whatever.
Yeah. She was saying that one just rolled in right before we started.
Yeah. But if you're just joining, the reason we got Carly on here is because I will, and we'll I shared it today on our Facebook, but we'll share it again for anybody that wants to join the Seasteading monthly Zoom call, which I'll be talking on August 5th, 14th, which is a Saturday. So yeah, I'll be, yeah. And Babe's got a question here as well. That's a good question. Hopefully Carly can get back on here, and if she can, we'll definitely ask her that.
Oh, just about got back on. Yeah, that's actually, Babe, that was one of the questions, kind of what I was about to ask. So once if she can reconnect, we'll.
Yeah. And I think this is just these questions alone. I think we definitely need you, Adam, you can do that. Reach back out to somebody, Ocean Builders, and try to get them on there. And I was telling Adam beforehand, Babe and Glenn, or anybody else is watching, that I've reached out to Dan as well, Divers Alert Network, and they're actively going to be with somebody, but it'll probably be like September or something along those lines.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. Sorry about that.
No, we gave them the warning that you had a storm rolling in and you might lose connectivity there.
Yeah. Sorry.
So
about
you want to ask your question, Adam, or you want to go to Babe?
Well, okay, so mine is similar to his. I'll just ask his. I'll pop it up there. Said, feeding off of Glenn's question, has Ocean Builders streamlined a government process for all the legal aspects?
So as far as I know, they are working very closely with the Panama government officials who are involved with approving structures in the ocean. And one hurdle had to do with a flag. So, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think that they had to alter their design a bit, or the specs somehow, so that their sea pods can be flagged as a houseboat. Again, double check everything I'm saying. This is from my memory of conversations. So a Seastead flag, I think of it as kind of like registering your car. So you have to go to your state office, DMV or whatever it's called in your state, and say, I have this kind of car, whether it's commercial or not commercial, how old is it? Does it meet emission standards? Very simple to register a car. But you similarly have to register vessels that are on the ocean, and that's called flagging them. And so to develop a flag that would allow a sea pod in a previous design would have been very expensive. And so they were able to negotiate with Panama and figure out, okay, we'll flag it as a houseboat. So luckily, I mean, that's why they settled in Panama, because the folks there are friendly to their business. But the Seasteading Institute, we're working on getting a Seastead flag so that it's a very long and complicated process. But we are having an event on September 3rd to talk about that, and I'm still putting everything together online to promote that. But we will be promoting that the next couple years. That's going to be our main focus, is getting a flag so that anyone who wants to build what fits this criteria of a seastead will be able to do it. They won't have to sort of slip in as like a barge or a houseboat or, whatever the existing categories are that don't really fit what a seastead is.
Yeah, what have been, I guess, maybe in your experience, or I know that Joe does a lot of traveling and meeting with a lot of people and doing a lot of speaking engagements. Stateside, what are kind of the hurdles with that? Obviously, like the Ocean Builders are working in Panama, but is there like a lot more challenges? I mean, obviously, I'm sure there is, but like to try to do something like that within the United States oceans.
Well, I think it would be more expensive, and that's why we haven't seen anyone really try to seastead in the United States. There is Ventive Float House. I'm not sure what their status is now. I talked to them maybe about a year ago, and they were looking at selling their design in the San Francisco area because of the shortage of housing there. But I don't know if he had researched what the legals restrictions would be. So you would have to consider, if you're close enough, there's a certain distance, and I don't know what it is, where the state has jurisdiction, and then beyond that, it's the federal government. Right. And so it's a matter of which government officials do you talk to, and how complicated is that? I do know I have been following a fish farming project. Neil Anthony Sims, who is featured in the Seasteading book, has been trying to launch a fish farm in Florida, and he ran into some hurdles with like aquaculture regulations. And I remember reading a news article a few months ago about, going through Congress for the aquaculture regulations, because our current farming and fishing, it just does not fit what he wants to do, right? Like there are regulations for commercial fishing, and then there are regulations for farming, and farming is not fish farming the way that Neil does it. So right. It's a matter, and I think the U.S. government, I think most governments, the process is tricky. So when we look for allies, the first thing we ask if they want to launch a project is like, do you know anyone in the government? Because we need their support.
Yeah, that's, like I said, one of the things that I've been trying to figure out, because it's just, politically, I mean, we could just say it's BS that we have to go through government officials to do it anyways. But yeah, it's so tricky because, like you said, a certain amount is, state proper or state rights or whatever. Then it's federal. Then it's like whatever. So it's, I'm assuming that, the seasteading runs into the same issues where it's like, it's a revolutionary type project. Same like what we're trying to do. And it's just like trying to explain that to someone and like trying to, I guess, get permission and get, make sure we're not doing anything illegal. I mean, it's crazy because you're trying to launch a business that has not been done before, or launch a real estate project in a sense. And so there aren't really laws or regulations. There aren't guidelines in place already to go off of. It's something that has to be kind of like, you're doing what and how are you doing that? And what do you, so then they're going to drag their feet because they don't know how to license you or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's the headache that Brendan and I don't want to deal with, but I mean, like eventually are going to have to.
Well, that's one thing that we as a nonprofit, we want to help with, right? So, this is Joe's work. He's been talking to flagging registries. He's been talking to the certification, the companies that go and certify vessels to meet the requirements of the flagging registry. And then there's like the maritime insurance. And so he has the fun job of like talking to all those folks and trying to translate their language into what makes sense for like the innovative creators that we work with, right? And being that translator between, we don't want our engineers having to pull out their hair talking to an insurance bureaucrat, right? Like we want them building right. and designing and iterating. So that's one role that we can really take on as a nonprofit, And so that's what we're going to do. That's what we're focusing on.
And he actually, maybe I'm misremembering this, but like he actually has talked to some politicians and all that, like, and trying to introduce the concept to them in the past, hasn't he?
Yes. So Joe actually went to Panama before Ocean Builders finalized their decision to launch their business there. He did meet Panamanian officials with our legal counsel, and then. Before I worked for the Seasteading Institute, I volunteered for Blue Frontiers, which was working in French Polynesia. Mm-hmm. And so they, the Blue Frontiers folks went to French Polynesia and met with the president, met with a number of officials and talked to them about seasteading. So unfortunately that plan got delayed to the point of it's not happening because of politics, unfortunately. So we learn from every experience, but Joe has the experience of like talking to people. And I will say that we have a very promising group of seasteaders in Brazil, and there was legislation being considered in their, I want to say parliament, that might not be the right word, but they were considering a nationwide law for special economic zones, which may or may not have included language to allow a zone on the ocean. So I'm still waiting to hear back from our friend there who was watching that legislation. So it is possible, but I was a political activist before I worked for the Seasteading Institute, and it's an infuriating process sometimes. Right. I mean, I really it's supposed to be, right? Like, we don't want people to just impose their will on a law that affects the whole country, right? We want it to be slow. We want there to be lots of conversations and lots of room for compromise and hearing from any interested parties. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind and make sure you make the right allies, the ones who are going to stick with it.
Right. Oh, that's a great thing about how we've we've been able to get to know you guys and your community too, because a lot of you guys have already did a lot of the footwork already, in finding a lot of these answers of, people have already fought certain fights and learned certain things to where, we can kind of keep contributing to that, but also learning from all that as well. So I think that's been one of the biggest contributors is, like I said, just learning and communicating with the seasteading community. And, and we've made contact with other people that are in the underwater habitation venture as well. So, we've the communication has been great, and being able to learn from one another and see, what we can progress. Now it's a matter of let's get it done.
Yeah. Well, that is really great to hear. That's, I think, the best thing that we can do at the Seasteading Institute is provide a platform where folks can find each other. And the founders of Ocean Builders found each other on our old forum. And now I think that Discord is going to be the next place where our next seasteading companies flourish.
Sorry, I was reading over comments there. But I think that, even though I understood the seasteading before, and we've talked before and stuff along those lines, I don't know, just something, you said something, I don't even know what it was, but it triggered it in a different light too. I can't even put it into words, but I think it's important that people get behind entities like yourself. And since you're pretty much the name in the game as far as this field goes, how do people support your guys' movement and support the Seasteading Institute?
Well, thank you for asking. We accept donations, and I think that's the best possible way. So having donations so that we can pay our legal advisors, pay the staff to continue working and maintaining all of our online platforms, and then hopefully to grow into more in-person events. So seasteading.org/donate. We also accept cryptocurrency, and that has been a huge benefit for us because I think the crypto people really they grok seasteading right away because Joe has this great phrase, and I can never remember it correctly, but it's something along the lines of cryptocurrency decentralizes money, and seasteading will decentralize community or society or something along those lines. It's that same concept in the physical realm. So yes, donate. You can donate directly to our incubator scholarship if that's what you want to support. I will be launching a flagging campaign page, or if you just donate and leave a note I want this money to be for a specific project, we will honor it. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Glenn just commented, he said, whatever country starts the ball rolling will have great rewards from tourists, scientists, media, etc. Some government should jump in on it and make a bundle early. Yeah, that's what I've always thought too, Glenn, is that we talked last week obviously a lot about Jules Undersea Lodge there. And with them being the only entity out there of being able to, for the common person to be able to go stay underwater right now, and just, to me, that's like, that should be a no-brainer for a lot of places to jump on opportunities, whether it's seasteading or doing the underwater thing like we're trying to do, is that it's such a unique and like fascinating thing. So whether it's your own personal home that you want to make out of it, or if it's like a vacation destination, if it's for research and all that, it should be a no-brainer that this should be something that people should support, because whoever is hosting this, whether, like I said, whether it's a seastead or an underwater habitat, whoever's hosting it, they're gonna like rake in on that too. So like, say you stick this in the state of Florida or wherever, Panama, people are gonna start acknowledging these places with the associating it with this kind of like adventure. So to me, it shouldn't be like a hesitation from local, state, or federal entities, whatever it is, and it should be something that they're encouraging, because at the end of the day, most of the time, the government's going to get their cut of whatever you do anyway. So they might as well try to, support it so that they can get their cut anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Until we can get outside the economic zone, then they don't get their cut anymore. But
So, Glenn, as a comment about this, we actually have a project. If you go to seasteading.org/active-projects or active projects page, have one called Atlas. They are looking at starting a seasteading community in Texas, but they're just getting started, and looking for new members to help them craft their growth plan and build membership and all of that. So yeah, there's definitely people interested in Texas. But
Texas has been a good aspect for, like, a lot of people are jumping to Texas just because of their tax codes too right now too. So that's that alone would be a good place for business too.
And as far as how profitable it will be for the first host country, I've been seeing a lot of seasteaders are jumping on the X Prize for carbon. I think it must have been announced recently. I've been hearing it third hand from a bunch of people who are like, oh yeah, we're doing a project for the X Prize for carbon capture, and they're all doing seaweed. So, and then also the coastal communities, dealing with flooding and dealing with the water encroaching on property. If they can convert to homes that can be in the water, then they won't have such severe losses if with storms or other flooding or all of that. And I can see, in my news searches, there are some places that are banking on like walls, like New Orleans has. But I think people are looking at the floating structures. Oh, and then also in New York City, they just opened up a park that's on these pylons. My mom was just there visiting. I was like, send me some of those pictures. But that's an interesting project, just to get people used to the idea of being on the water, that it's, you build a park. Doesn't mean that you're dredging up soil. We can build floating things, and they're kind of modular in a way too. They're really interesting. They're almost shaped like a sea pod. They have this like sort of rounded shape, and then they're flat that connect so that you have this big park on top, but they're modular, which is really interesting. So just projects like that, which just sort of gently introduce the idea of like, oh, humans can be on the water.
And the big thing I think too is that, with any of these fields, that unless it's almost a seamless transition from the way of life most people know and their home and stuff like that barrier is too great for, I think, the average person to want to give up those creature comforts to help fund the way or make the way into the inevitable future. And so, whether it's, the ocean builders, I think it's what's great about their design is because it has all those creature comforts and it looks good too. So it bridges that barrier from what people are used to living on the water as well.
Mm-hmm.
Babe said Norway has floating homes for flood areas. Cool.
I wasn't aware of Norway. We do have partners in the Netherlands, and they have really interesting. It's funny. So they have a bunch of like floating architecture, but they also have regulations that have sort of atrophied, I feel, so that it's more and more difficult for floating homes to move to different locations. And so they became overly regulated, but they have a separate regulatory system for floating homes versus homes on land. And I find that fascinating, that they've had to develop it. But of course it's been around long enough to have sort of atrophied, which is also fascinating.
Right. Yeah, it's where was I? I had a thought and now I lost it already. Brendan, think of something while I'm trying to regain the question.
No, I was going to say, she's start wrapping it up here as far as our time goes, but I think I just want to, in my closing here, I appreciate you, Carly, jumping on for us here tonight and filling content for us, because what I was going to talk about was not this exciting. So,
well, I'm excited to have you present at our Seasteading Social. So that's
Yes.
August 14th, 10 a.m. Pacific. It's free to attend online on Zoom. So, yeah, we'll hope to grow your audience there.
Already, just in the last couple of days from you guys posting it out there, we've had several new likes on LinkedIn and all this kind of thing. So people are, and once again, and like I say, and me getting involved in the Discord community has definitely been beneficial as well too. So.
Yes, and I have to say I'm not good about remembering underwater habitation, and so I want to bring you in. We need to have that.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Glenn. That's a nice comment.
Glenn's awesome.
Yeah. Glenn's been around with us for quite a while, so.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn's one of our biggest supporters. We love having Glenn. He always joins us every Tuesday. Him and Babe always join us. You know who we haven't heard from in a while? I can't think of his name now, but the guy that's like traveling the world on his boat.
On a boat.
Yeah, and he's like he like stops in and like if he just thanks, Glenn. You know what, Glenn? We just said a lot of nice things about you. And, we just had to do that.
But there's a guy. I don't remember his name either. But he's testing out some living on a boat, basically some seasteading aspects. Some things he was. I don't even remember what it was now. But he stops in every one and will pop in here and tell us what he's doing and stuff too. So
it'd be cool to like sync it up sometime where we can have him come on and join us. Just because, he's just traveling the world, just doing whatever, which is, man, that's the dream for a lot of people, is just to be able to have that carefree lifestyle and just be able to check everything out. I don't know if I'd want to like travel like across because it's not a big vessel that he's on. Like it's a small boat. That would terrify me, being on a small boat and just like traveling wherever. But that's just me though. But so, and I'll get the links from you, Carly, and we'll post them on our social medias for Brendan's thing next Saturday. And just I know we already posted some in here already
and I shared it on our page today because they put it on the Seasteading page today as well, and I shared it on there as well.
So obviously we already shared the links. So Ocean Builders is a group that you work with, so oceanbuilders.com. We have seasteading.com, or I'm sorry, www.seasteading.org. Who else, where else and who else would you recommend people check out to kind of keep up with everything that, is going on right now?
Well, we try to put everything on seasteading.org, so that's a great place to start. And if you scroll down, you'll find all of our social media channels. We have a lot. All of a sudden, we had some ambassadors step up and volunteer to run these new social media channels. So we just had a bunch more. So Discord, Telegram, but we've mentioned before, Discord is a great place to have like real meaningful, productive conversations from people who are actively looking for solutions to build. So, and then of course our role-playing game, which I hope people will join and enjoy and help us figure out how to do realistic simulations. I see the role-playing game as a way of training people to think like a seasteader, right? Like so many people, I think we are used to thinking about if something goes wrong, I call the fire department or the police, or my rights are defined. Like we have our current situation in our current society, and so training people to think about like what sort of problems you're gonna have to solve, especially those first pioneers. We're gonna have to figure out, where do we get our electricity? It's not as simple as just calling the electric company and switching your name into the account, So like, I want to get people used to thinking about, this is what we're gonna have to do to make living on the ocean a reality and a successful reality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's so many things that, it's the simple things that we just assume are the ones that are going to come back to bite us.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and like you said, it's a good way of like learning too, because that's one of the biggest things that's helped Brendan and I is that, just having people ask questions, be like, hey, so what about how would this work? And it's like, oh crap, well maybe we didn't think about that.
Yeah.
It's just like so putting it in a more fun way of how you're doing it, I mean, is a good way to prepare for like, once this does become a reality, that okay, we've explored that scenario, this is how we're going to handle it, rather than just you're out there and it's like, oh, we never thought of this before, So it sounds like a lot of fun way to learn and prepare for it, rather than just be caught off guard too.
Sure. And when you have 40 players, half of them are going to think of things that are out of this world. Like the thing that surprised us the most was someone decided to build a church as like their first step on their seastead. We're like, oh, we didn't expect that would be the first thing someone does, but okay, sure. Let's see how this works.
Cool. So yeah, we'll throw out other links and we'll put up on our socials. So, Carly, thank you for joining us, and we're gonna close this out, and then we'll catch you after the credits real quick. But Brendan, I'm gonna go through our closeout. Is that all right?
Oh, okay.
All right. Here we go. All right, guys, you can go to AtlantaSeaColony.com. From there, you're going to be able to catch all of our socials. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, all that good stuff. And it's a beautiful website, by the way. I give credit to our designer, Brendan, on that. So good going, Brendan.
Yeah.
Also, we do have our Patreon for anybody that, that is capable of donating, whether it's like $1 a month or $5 a month. You can go to patreon.com/AtlantaSeaColony and you can sign up there. Or if you have $8.76 laying around and you want to donate that $8.76, you can go to paypal.me/AtlantaSeaColony and donate that $8.76 to us, and we would gladly take it. And we're, obviously all this is going to help us get put towards our habitat, all of our ventures that we're getting into. And also, Brendan, show that gear that you got on you, buddy.
It's getting a little worn. Wash yours.
You got to wash it inside out. Have you known that?
I have, yes.
Okay, well,
it's already. I did it anyway. Show yours off. Yours is the newer one.
I got the new. It's covered in cat hair because if you guys didn't know earlier, I was petting my cat when she was like walking by while I was doing this. But yeah, this is the newest shirt. Brendan, I'm gonna launch a challenge real quick. Challenge. So we're always like putting out new merch and new designs and stuff. I think we should put up a vote on which animal should be the next Atlanta Sea Colony logo animal.
I'm fine with that.
We have the octopus, we have the hammerhead, and then now we have this design. But I think we should do another animal. My vote is with either a stingray or a sea turtle. That's what I'm going to go with.
I'm fine with those.
Okay, so also thanks to our patrons, Edward Haas, Brian Acosta, S. Hive. Once again, check out seasteading.org and also oceanbuilders.com. Carly, thank you again for joining us, and we will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.